Gonna start here momentarily. You know what? I don't think that worked out how I thought it would. Silly, silly, silly. All right, let's try that again. We are going to get started here momentarily. Say hi in the chat. I'll say hi as well, or at least attempt to pronounce your names, of which about maybe 20% I'll be able to. What's up? I'll do the same. This is the live UI UX review show. I'll describe what's happening here in a moment while people start to filter in. Anonymous Kitty, hello. Had a few other people, Hadi, Ricardo, Anita. Already getting a bunch, we have a ton actually. I announced this 3 hours ago. We have a lot of submissions. What's up? JBN, Za. Stark, what is up? Kurdo, what is up? Stark. It's Spa. All right, that's enough of that. All right, everybody. So for those of you who are new, this is the live UI UX review show that I do here, sometimes referred to as called the negative space. And essentially, you submit, and details for submitting your UI UX designs are in the YouTube description below. You submit your designs here in the Discord server and in the negative space submissions channel, and I will just simply take a look at your designs and I'll provide feedback. Sometimes I'll do a quick revision if it's in Figma, and I will also rate it from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, and I'll also get sometimes I'll get the chat involved as well. So it's just a fun way for us to kind of quickly go through within the span of about 45 minutes to an hour, your UI UX designs and try to improve as much as possible. All right, so before we begin though, I do want to mention that at DesignCourse.com, this is my new interactive UI UX design course. All right, so real important before I get into the details, you can use the code STREAM22 for 22% off during this stream, in which I will deactivate it afterwards. So what is this? Basically, it's a way to learn UI UX through 16 hours of video. We have a bunch of 38 interactive user interface tests. You can actually try it out by going to designcourse.com and click play now. There's a few free ones available. And there's also 17 projects where you're challenged. You can also join what's called Mentor, where I will personally look at your designs and provide feedback based on these projects that are found throughout the curriculum. So here's an example of one. The task for this particular design challenge was to design a nav bar based on this design right here that's already been provided. And this person, there's some issues with contrast. So what I did is I quickly replicated it, I improved it over here, and I leave comments up here as well, and I leave a rating, the same comment here, the URL, and you get notified via email. So this direct feedback from mentorship is an awesome way for you to improve. I'm just getting my opinion. I don't have anybody else helping me with this. This is solely me. All right, so definitely check that out. Stream22, 22% off at checkout. All right, let's get started with our first reviews. All right, so let me scroll all the way up. We're up here quite a bit. There we go. The first one is Byler.io. So let's check this out. I like the logo. Very simple word mark. All right, so let's refresh that. All right, just a simple animation coming. Maybe you could apply some type of easing. It seems like it's pretty, actually it does have easing, never mind. All right, so accounting made easier, better. All right, feels like this section might be, you might be able to increase the size a little bit just of the overall section in this illustration. Is certainly the join free beta button here. It seems like this could definitely be larger. All right, I would also get rid of this underline right here because it's unnecessary. You have one already down here at the bottom anyhow. Continuing on, features. All right, I like that, it's pretty decent. All right, subscription. Again, make that larger. All right, one thing you want to work on here, and this is visual hierarchy 101, typographically speaking, your questions right here should be larger and probably I would probably make them white. So let me real quickly see if I can refactor this just for this particular one. So we're gonna do font size. I'm just gonna throw out a number. Oh, that's much better. So like 1.7 rem units, color white. All right, and then we could take this part underneath it and we can make this font weight normal. Font size, we need to beef it up a little bit. 1.25 rem units. All right, so our probably margin top -1 em. There we go. That right there is a much better design compared to these right here. Because this, we actually have visual hierarchy. So all these would look like, you know, this one right here. All right, so 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? I do like this section over here. So for me, I'm probably gonna give this a rating of like a 7.8. I think that seems pretty fair. Yeah. All right, awesome stuff. Let us continue. Somebody said 5.5. All right, next up is, it's a dummy project. I would appreciate it if you rate the individual elements. Well, I'm not going to rate every individual element. I'll rate the design as a whole. All right. All right, just one of these Netflix sort of clones. Yeah, typographic visual hierarchy here is pretty solid. Cards, white space between them are all pretty solid. This is a pretty nice hero section, you know, making sure you're dimming out the background so that your type can contrast well above it. Yeah, I really don't have much of a problem with this. I probably wouldn't change the rent movie button on hover to this degree because it almost disappears. I would rather have like a more subtle change. But other than that, this is actually pretty solid for what it is. So for me, I would given that this is a dummy rating product, I'm not going to ask anybody to rate it, but I'll quickly rate it, and this is probably easily, you know, an 8.0 plus. All right, continuing on. Figma, I am making a task logger. It's still work in progress. No, I haven't had experience with Simplist. What is that? All right. This is a task logger. All right. Let's see. Is this in a prototype or something that I can use? I'll just go back here. All right. So looking at the design overall, you know, one thing I might want to change if I could take this into a new document. Is this, what is happening here? I'm not sure if, let me change one of these colors. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so I would make this slightly darker, but probably put it in the blue or like really desaturate it. I just wanted to have a little bit more contrast in the background. Something like that. Maybe not quite that blue, actually. Something maybe around there. But I just wanted to have more contrast with the cards based on what you had. This is a strange font. It's kind of strange. I don't know. This one right here. I'm not sure what that is. Museo Moderno. And honestly, I would probably push these two down. like down here to be in line with this right here. So slightly increase that bar. Outside of that, this all looks pretty solid here. These card designs, very solid looking. I like it a lot. Yeah. Excellent. Good responsive. You got your tablet and mobile here. Yeah. It seems like it's a pretty involved app. So I can't use it or anything, but as far as UI design, strictly speaking, looks all very solid. Let's do a rating for this one. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Let me all know what you think. For me, based on what this is, I mean, this is really solid. I'm going to give this easily like a 9 plus, somewhere in that range. Very solid design. Very little wrong with it. Colors, cards are all executed well. Awesome. All right, very good. Let's leave that one. All right. Tables are not responsive. This looks like a portfolio. Refresh. All right, so it's a little strange typically to have like a navigation right here in the center. I would prefer to go with the standard route, which is kind of have like a nav bar up here with your logo on the left and your navigation on the right. Also, there's a lot happening here in the background, so in terms of visual hierarchy, things are kind of getting lost. If you're reading this, that means you can read. So it's like, okay, come on. I'm not sure if this is what you mean to do or if this is just filler text, but you need to really give somebody to click a direction. You know, what people want to see your work first and foremost. They don't care about anything else. They want to see your work. That's actually pretty cool. So it's a scroll-based video where it's scrubbing through the timeline based on scroll. All right. Okay, so this is a ton of type here for your about section. Typically, you know, most potential employers or clients, if you're a freelancer, aren't going to want to read through all of this. Nowhere near. You could put that in a separate about page or something. You know, you have to cut this down by about like 80%, 75%. For sure, because that's just kind of like a wall of text. Few people are going to read it. I would like the card designs here to be improved. I would go to dribble.com, DRIBBBLE, and type in card design just to try to get a better grip of effective card designs. These right here, these cards are a little bit too, I guess you could say, sporadic. There's not much alignment, and they're not really confined well. You have a red type up here, and then a centered button down here with this in the middle. And you hover over, all this type is just showing up, way too much type. Rethink that for sure. And seriously, this is a massive amount of skills to put, but you're not utilizing the layout available. Look, all this white space, so a person has to scroll down quite a bit. So that could be rethought of as well. All right, so 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? For me, I'm going to go ahead and give this a rating of like a 5.5. I mean, this actually is really cool. This is the best part of it, this area right here. But yeah, just some basic design principles. Join up at DesignCourse.com. I will get you set straight with the UI design for sure. All right, let's get going. Next up, prototype link, file link. Don't forget to see the second page as well. Well, typically, depending on how large it is. I only review one page, usually the home page. All right. Let me mute my phone. My wife's going off here, going crazy. All right, let's see. All right. Custard. Home, service, work, about, blog. Make sure you do have an active state status design here. Like, so if this is the home page, make it bolder or change the color or underline it or add an icon. Those are the 4 ways essentially you can make an active state. Get a quote. All right. Play video. Yeah, this is pretty decent right here. I'm not sure about this bar right here. So this is a high contrast, obviously the highest contrast you get with white versus black. And so it's just kind of like a bar that's right in the middle. I would prefer to take an opposite route where, you know, this is a very light gray, just slightly lighter than the background, and then make these elements black or pretty dark. I think that would be the better approach because it seems like kind of like there's just like an add bar or a nav bar in the center when it's that high of contrast. Next up, yeah, I like this. You could probably make the send a brief like these capsed titles right here even a little bit smaller and maybe like a bluish color or a color that corresponds to the cards next to it. That way you can really separate them even further from the type underneath it. Yeah, this is very solid. Yeah, I like it. I like the font pairing. All right, that was the second. I'm glad I looked at it. Thank you very much. So we'll do a rating for that one for sure. 1 being the worst you've ever seen and 10 being the best. Let me know what you think this person deserves. The person does not want me to do the ratings because they want me to keep on going. Yeah, for me, this is really solid. I'm probably going to give this easily an 8 plus. Yeah, for sure. All right, next up. Wait, tablets are not responsive and accepted numbers are the ones starting with 0750. I have no clue what you're talking about, but let's check it out. We had some animation, so I will refresh this. Refresh. It's quite fancy. Start customizing order now. Start customizing your order now. That should be. But here's the thing. What type of order and what the hell am I customizing? You got to answer that. I have no clue what this is at all. The illustrations don't really give me any idea. None of this. While that's interesting right here, and I think it's maybe a little bit too much in conjunction with this animation. So maybe just take this stuff, make it bigger, and go around this section and just drop this illustration. But here's the problem. I don't know what's happening. So you have to really figure that one out. So it's basically a t-shirt. So you need to put that in your headline to really let people know exactly what's happening here. I'm not a fan of the white drop, like the thick white drop shadow. I would change that maybe to something a little bit lighter than this background. Cool transitions. But yeah, I'm not gonna go through all of this. This has potential. I don't know why you would put visitors, like a visitor counter. That's something that we used to do in the late 90s. And we had guest books and web page hit counters, they were called. Nobody cares. You're wasting space up here. You could put something else much more valuable. So yeah, think about that. I'll give a rating for what this is. It's probably just like a 6.5 or so. All right, let's continue on. All right, so biggest problem, this does not scale up well. So here on this larger desktop resolution, things are way too small. Beef that size up, use your media queries. All right, your hopefully mobile first min width CSS media queries to make everything larger. All right, along with this little graphic right here. All right, so think about that. Write the code below to continue. I don't understand. Who is? Okay, very interesting. But again, things should be larger here for sure. One thing I fear about these types of sites, it depends on, if you're trying to become an employer or employee rather, recruiters might be able to understand it better. But if you're a freelancer and somebody just wants a website and they don't have any idea of what a code editor is, they're gonna have a hard time navigating and figuring out your website. So think about that for sure. All right. I'm not gonna bother with a rating for that one. Let's continue on. Lakeland, Florida. Never been there. I've been to Lake Wales. All right. In music we trust. My music. About music, videos, contact. So I would not bold all of that type. All right, you already have a headline that's bold. So I would, where's it at? Font weight. That's much better. And then add more white space beneath the about. You might even want to add line height 1.8 rem. All right, so that's better. So this is a better take right here than what you had before. What you had before looked like this. Yeah, so this is just too bold. You don't want that. Bold, when you have like a paragraph, you use bold very sparingly, just like with italicizing, a few words here and there, not the whole thing. Same with that. All right, it has potential. You just have to work on your type a bit. And one of my pet peeves is when you have a form, you have an explicit label on top called email. You don't have to put email as a placeholder value. I will say that your text field and your text area don't contrast enough with the background. So it's going to be hard for people to kind of spot it. So I would take that background and probably push it up, maybe right around there. I think your quarter radiuses are also a little bit too much. I would reduce that to maybe like 0.3 M units or 0.2 M units. Yeah, 0.2 is pretty good. Now, another thing, when you have this large desktop, you don't want to have these form elements that are just spanning all the way across. Put these into 2 columns and then have your alternative forms of contact maybe over here in the second column. All right, so 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I think I'll probably give this one roughly like a 6.8, 6.7 or so. Next up. Looks like we have different colors here. I'll just, the safest one to go with is probably the blue color scheme. Problem is everything's very close to it, the other one, so it's hard for me to focus. All right. Home, my work skills. All right, so one thing I don't like is if you're gonna bold them, like you're gonna have title case, keep everything else title case as well. Like, so my skills should be capital M and capital S. Contact me, see my work. It's a little bit strange. with the alignment here of this secondary navigation. And they seem a little bit large as well. So I would opt to probably, you know, make these a little bit smaller, because they're also pretty close to the mobile. Let me ungroup that. Yeah, to the illustration underneath it. So I would take this, move that over. Now you could do something like this to make it extra cool. I'm not sure why this is being cut. Oh, okay, there we go. Unfortunately, this screwed that up. Never mind that they got screwed up. See how cool that looks? We have the overlapping effect. Definitely an improvement, in my opinion, just from that little area right there. So we could do a before and after, kind of show what I've done to fix up this top nav portion, because these buttons right here are too spread apart. They don't feel right to me. And yeah, just making this kind of like a little bit more interesting and not boxing things in unnecessarily. So, all right. Next up, pretty decent here for the cards. Probably prefer to take these two elements, make them less contrast. So let's try like 40%. It's a little bit better. Dividers like that, you typically don't want to have high contrast because it just takes away from the important content. Now, there is an issue here with your color contrast. Some of these colors do not contrast very well with the background. So, you know, it might be best to just make these white, in my opinion. Like, just make them all white. If not all white, changing the background behind this area to white. So instead, we could take a rectangle, put this here, align it to the back, and make it white. And then, of course, make it larger as well, but there's stuff all around it, so I'd have to move it down. Everything's grouped up, though. It's a pain in the butt. But yeah, more white space on the top and bottom in this section. I think that would work better, because left with this weird background color here, there's not good contrast. All right. All right, pretty solid. Giving this a rating, I'll probably give this just a flat out 7.1 or so, 7.2. All right, next up. Oh, before we do that, for those of you who've already been, who filtered in after the beginning of this show, I just wanted to mention at DesignCourse.com, you can learn UI, UX in an interactive setting. This is my new course released earlier this year. There's over 16 hours of video, 38 interactive user interface tests, which are fun. You can actually go to DesignCourse.com and click play now to try some of them. And also 17 projects where you're challenged based on what you learned throughout the project to design different user interfaces and different concepts. And if you add mentorship, I personally look at your design and provide you with revisions. So like this one, for instance, here was a navigation challenge that we have, and this person kind of didn't have correct contrast with this little color right here based on its background. So I'll many times just take a look what you did, do a quick revision, and also leave a comment and a rating. So definitely check that out. Stream 22 at checkout will get you 22% off during this stream. So join now if you want to take advantage of that offer. All right, continuing on is I think I already did. I already do these? Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Yeah, I already did a review for that person. Okay. Next up, we have Chucky. The price of the course is $99 US, but you can get it for cheaper if you use the Stream 22 coupon code. And also, if you live in a different area around the world, like India and probably about 30 other countries, you can actually get parity pricing, which gives you typically a bigger discount, up to 40% off. All right, welcome, millions of movies, explore now. All right, so big problem here is, look how big this search bar is. I mean, or how wide it is. It's just like what I would do if you only have this amount of content. You take this sucker and you center everything in this hero section. So if we have this element here, text align center, which is not working, unfortunately. There might be some weird HTML that's happening here in CSS, but you want to center everything. Second, I would make this not as wide, but also make it bigger because it's a really primary call to action. What I mean bigger is like more, like a larger font size and more padding on the inside to give it more height. Not a lot of white space between the bottom of the hero section and these tag little buttons, so think about that. And these cards are really huge. I mean, they're really large. Like in terms of just having a ton of height, that's pretty much unnecessary. So maybe by like make them about 60% or 50% smaller than what they are, and that way you could fit more cards on here. All right, not really gonna bother with a rating for that one. All right, let's refresh. All right, so honestly, these, the particle, I think this is particle.js, they've been done ad nauseum, meaning everybody and their mother at one point used these, and I know it's cool, but I would ditch it. Try to be more unique because I've seen so many portfolios that use these throughout the last like 4 or 5 years that it's just like, yeah, these are done. They've been done. Don't do them. After that, you do have some topography issues here. Mainly, okay, so you have a good headline in terms of design, although you never just say, hello, I'm whoever. You want to have more interesting ad copy for that. Emphasize benefits over features. Say something snazzy like, I'm going to rock your socks off with my web development skills or something like that. But your sub headline right here lacks scale. So it's not large. It's not a large enough font size, and there's not enough leading, which is line height. All right, you need more line height. So let's see if we can fix this up real quick. Font size, 2 rem. No, a little bit too large. Probably 1.5 rem. All right, you also have too much type there as well. And then we'll do line height, maybe like that. And then if I can get in here and get rid of some of this type because there's so much of it. Yeah, it's all screwed up. It needs to flow better. There's not enough width here. I can't take too much time trying to improve it. Not enough white space above it. These are too close together. Think about those things. Your get in touch and see more buttons are like hardly noticeable at all. I mean, you have so much distractions going around here. You really want to make those, if you're using kind of like a monochromatic color scheme with black and red, make these red buttons and make them larger. This isn't cool. There's no reason to really skew these off like this. I probably wouldn't do that. Makes it kind of hard to read. Programming skills is just like randomly down here for some reason. That's not ideal. Please join DesignCourse.com. I'm gonna set you straight and really show you how to design well. All right. Not gonna bother with a rating for that one either. Next one, my first design. Uh-oh, it's somebody's first design. Okay. I feel like I'm watching Poltergeist. There's that famous scene. It's like a 1980s movie, or maybe late 70s, where this girl's looking into one of those old TVs with the marching ants and stuff. and she gets sucked into it. I would probably, typically, so this background here is like kind of like a mid-gray. And I typically tell people to avoid mid-gray sort of backgrounds in their UIs because it just makes it look bland and kind of pale. So either make this much darker or very much lighter. I would personally make it much darker. That way you keep your white foreground text and you increase contrast in the process. Home, about, projects, and contact me, too much space between them. So I would condense those a little more, keep it right aligned, make those white. This down here, this kind of 3-column approach is confusing. You have design. I can design for you an awesome website. And then you have web, and it just says web. Like, why is web there? And then development, it's like way over here. You need to try to rethink this layout. I understand it's your first time, but yeah, you need to fix that up. Also, another no-no here is when you have a fixed navigation like this and you scroll down and it overlays on top of the existing type, your nav gets lost, and so does that type too. It clutters everything. So if you're gonna have a fixed nav, use CSS to give it like a white background or a black background behind this whole nav bar so that it doesn't overlap everything. I've done a video about not using progress bars to indicate your skill levels. What would just make more sense is just put what you know, put it there. Don't put this. Somebody might really want a good JavaScript developer and they're like, this guy's only 50%, you know, like good or whatever that even means. So just don't do that. This is probably the best section right here. These are pretty decent. All right, so it's your first one. Definitely have room to grow. Join DesignCourse.com if you really want to be badass. All right, completed. JSExpert.xyz. I think I've seen this before. Yeah, I already reviewed this, so I'm not going to review it again. I will say honestly, it's still very cluttered up here. There's like so many cards. Here's a card, 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 here's a card. It's too much. You need to refigure this out. You need to create like a hero section or something, like a small one, just to let people know what's happening here. I have a little clue of how this works. So you need to onboard people. All right, next up, turbodesigns.b. That previous one with the TV marching ants, I'd probably give that like a 5. All right, Turbo Designs right here, blah, blah, blah. Dare to innovate to grow. So you could definitely improve the type over here in this section. So like, you know, this could even be larger on this big desktop resolution I'm using. Font size, 4 rem maybe. And then this right here, we need to make a couple adjustments. Maybe like 1.6 rem, margin top. Margin bottom. And then the button can be bigger as well. Maybe not that big. Maybe padding, increase that as well. A border radius real quick. So kind of like that a little bit better. Maybe move yourself over. Color contrast is an issue up here. This blue, notice this blue right here and this section like in the background. That's not ideal. So I'd probably just make this background white instead of this beige color if you're going to use that photograph. I would bold design, redesign, and underhound to increase the visual hierarchy between these two pieces of type. This seems a little bit scattered. Not sure what's happening here. There's a lack of alignment occurring, especially with this one right here. So I would rethink that. All right, so for a quick rating for this, I'd probably give it like a 6.8 or 6.9. Next up. Some type of Minecraft website of sorts. English. I don't know what's happening here, I'll be honest. I mean, I like the colors, you know, it's for a game and all that. Minecraft, I understand that. But yeah, it's just one of those difficult designs for me to rate and kind of critique because there's a lot happening, and I also kind of don't understand exactly what this is. I don't play Minecraft, so I don't know what this is. I will say the buy access button with the small, very tiny type right here, purchase access to join the elite blah 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 server. That's a really tiny type. Like, you gotta beef that freaking thing up. It kind of is one of the most important pieces of type on here. So I would rethink this. It's also, you know, there's not much of a layout here because you have these high contrast illustrations in the background, kind of just coming all over the place. And so and you have a big logo type of thing right here. I think you need to rethink this layout right here for your hero section. Also, you don't want to make links white on yellow like this. This is difficult to see. So I would just keep those black probably. All right, I'm not even going to bother with a rating just because it's one of those layouts that it's hard for me to judge, honestly. Next up, Team Tiny House. Our mission at Team Tiny House, we believe that everyone deserves a chance at high quality, sustainable housing. Alrighty, so this right here feels like this design. First of all, it feels like this could be a button. So like, it's not a button, but it's designed like a button. So I wouldn't do that. I do like Team Tiny House, this nice big type right here. But I think this being boxed into a card, it almost looks like one of those GDPR cookie consent pop-ups. And you don't want that, of course. So I would rethink the design on this section here. Ideally, you'd be able to, which it may not work based on this photograph, but if I take the background color, none, take this, make this black. All right, and let's take this overall container. Shoot, trying to align the type to the left. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now we're starting to make progress. I would probably take this. Oops. Font size. No, not that big. All right, and then margin top. All right, so now, of course, that worked when it was higher up here. So what you could potentially do is you could fix this in a few different ways. You could take this background photograph and make it darker, or lighter rather, or add an overlay, like a light overlay, maybe like a 2-column approach where you have like a single column that's kind of like light. There's a lot of ways to tackle it, but you want to open up that area. You don't want to confine it into a box like it was before. Okay, so this is really boxy. So you should not have these high contrast boxes all over the place. You know, like this area. they should just be this background if you're going to use it with those opened up. So things are too boxy. Your cards shouldn't be high contrast. Like card design is best when the background's very close to the shade and the tint that's in the background color in which it's sitting. So for me, I would make these. Let's just take a look here real quick. Where's the background color? All right, and then I think these have a box shadow. I get rid of those, and then I would take the color, and then these as well. Or you can even grab this background color and make it kind of like that. You also need more line height. All right, so this is 1,000 times better. I know this design's like kind of white and these others ones aren't, but this is a lot better than what we had here with these real high contrast boxiness situations occurring here. So get rid of the boxes. Hopefully that helped. I kind of spent a lot of time on that one. All right, not sure where I'm at. Oh, right here, Seko guide. I am hot. It's hot outside. All right, type needs worked on over here, so this could be larger. All right, that's better. So that's better type between these two. The original, if we revert back, you saw it was quite a bit smaller. Search and view subjects could be larger as well. Pretty good card design right here. I would take view apps, join, more info. Use your flexbox or grid skills to put this at the very bottom, like right here. So this right here gets moved to more like right here, so that these are all on the same line, because they're also pretty close to this section as well. So you move them down, give it white space as well. I don't know why these ends. Okay, so like those should be filled in, these circles. So background blue. I don't want blue. I'm just putting a color there temporarily. You could do something like this, or you can give them a different color, make them come out more, and do that for each one of these, because otherwise it just looks like misaligned type. So give ourselves a background color for that. Other than that, pretty solid here. I'll give this a rating, probably just like a 7.2. I pretty much only do give feedback on what's wrong. I mean, I will mention things that are done right, just, you know, so I'm not always constantly negative. But most of the time, like 95% of the time is spent talking about that, so I don't think that's a big deal. All right. Next up is it this one? Yeah. All right. Kind of strange alignment, although I understand. Let's do about. Where are you from? For me, it's a little bit strange having right aligned type. I would like to see it left aligned. It's very simple though. I would like to see, again, I feel like a broken record, active state button. So you could do something as simple as just take your projects, font, weight, normal. Do that for these three as well, so that your active state is just bolded and the rest aren't bold. They do seem pretty small. The type up here all seems pretty small. You could probably beef up the size of everything in this whole section. Next up, download resume. I think I would put that as a secondary call to action and have this button designed right here be for like view my work. I would also add more white space between this section and that button. Like push it down by like 2 to 3 times the amount of what's currently there. I do like this section. Very good. This section is pretty good as well. I'm not sure if I would use black here. Really high contrast. I might use something a little bit different than that. Maybe even go light contrast, keep the type black primarily. But other than that, this is pretty solid. Okay, they are at least floating labels, so that works. All right, pretty solid here. I'd probably give this one easily like 7.7, 7.8. All right, and this right here, let's check it out. Oh, I think this is from a challenge, possibly. Yeah, from the DesignCourse curriculum. The goal was to kind of design like an archery landing page of some sort. Oh, okay, so I can see there's quite a bit happening here. So I'm not too sure about having the overlapping type right here, because this is a high contrast photograph element, and the EQ and YOU, I'm not sure about that, if I like that much. Also, does it make sense to put Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram right on the upper left, which is like kind of where the eye naturally leads for the most part? Also, your Shop Now button kind of gets lost, so I would opt to probably make that a white background with black text. And for me personally, having like these little labels, kind of like brown colorized labels with type and an icon, I'd probably opt to make those more simplistic. So for instance, if we go here, I'll take one of these and, wait, what's happening? Shoot, they're all not in a group together. There we go. So I would do something more like this. So what I would do is take this, detach the instance, ungroup it. All right. And then in order to increase contrast, we would take this, we would add a linear gradient, and let's boost this up to 100% temporarily. And we will reverse this, and we'll take down this. There we go. That is a much better approach than this boxy sort of approach. So that looks much better. It's just kind of opened. So I'm not a fan of having everything boxed in and boxy kind of like that. So I like this approach a lot better if you're going to have the type, the type inside of the actual photograph. All right. I'm not going to bother with the rating for that because I'm going to get to that as a part of Mentor if you did join Mentor. Not sure if you did or not. But that is going to be basically it. All right. So just one last time, I wanted to mention DesignCourse.com. You can check out DesignCourse.com, and where you can learn UI UX in an interactive setting, 16 hours of video, 38 interactive user interface design challenges, and 17 projects which will test your ability to design what you've learned. And you can also join mentorship, where I will personally design, or not design, but review your designs, and in most cases provide actual iterations in Figma along with feedbacks and ratings. So join up, use Stream22 for 22% off at checkout, and I'll see you all very soon. All right, everybody. If I didn't get to yours today, I know a lot of people get mad because you may have been the next person or a couple people down. Just try to make sure to idle inside of the Discord server, and whenever I do these, an hour or so before I do them, I make an announcement, and I announce it to the stream ping role. And once I announce it, hurry up, go into that channel and paste your UI design link of some sort, and try to be early because I take them in the order they come. All right, everybody. I will see you all very soon. Goodbye.